All right, and good morning, everyone, from Bolero Mount Prospect in Mount Prospect, Illinois. This is the 9 a.m. local, 10 a.m. Eastern Time squad. Of the PBA LBC National Championships. Good morning, everybody. I am $2 Phil Bryla. We'll take you through the entire squad. Once practice is completed, they are just underway with practice. Couple of PBA exempt players on this squad. One of them you see there just walking off the lanes with Brandon Runk. His wife Alexis, PWBA player. There you see coming off of lane 3 right now. We also have another PBA exempt player starting off on lanes 23 and 24 with Cam Crow. So a couple of powerful lefties on this squad.
I'll be right back with that.
So if you're following somebody on the squad, we'll let you know what pairs they're on as we go through during game 1, and then you'll be able to follow them on all the pair feeds, every pair in play during this run of the PBA LBC National Championships, available to you right here for free on the PBA YouTube channel. And this is a busy weekend at the PBA LBC National Championships as we have 3 squads today. Normally our lineup on Saturdays is a 9 a.m. local, 2 p.m. local for squad times. Today we've also added a 7 p.m. squad that you'd be able to take in this evening. And tomorrow will be our normal 11 a.m. starting squad time. So a couple of booth feeds for you this weekend as well. So you will not have a booth feed on the 7 p.m. squad tonight or the 11 a.m. squad tomorrow. But we will have a couple of professionals from the PBA in the booth with us a little later this morning here on the early squad. We will have AJ Chapman joining us in the booth for probably the last 2 games, if not the third, depending on his arrival time. But we'll have a lot of Tim Foy on the 2 p.m. local time squad today. About halfway through the 10 minutes practice for these players. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, whether they're for me specifically. I'm $2 Phil Bryla, taking you through the day, taking you through the entire PBA LBC National Championships event. That'll wrap up with our final squad on July 13th. If you have questions about what the PBA National Championships is all about, or if you want to start preloading some questions in there for AJ Chapman, you can do that as well. How fun does it have to be for some of these players coming in? All of a sudden they look up on the scoreboard and they see, holy cow, I have a PBA exempt player on my pair, like Cam Crow, like Brandon Runk. Now, they're not bowling against those players on the squad, as the PBA exempt players have their own division. But it's fun to watch players like Runk and Crow throw some lumber around. And you get to be up close and personal on the same pair with that PBA Tour Elite player for all 6 games of your qualifying block. A lot of fun to be had. About 2 minutes of practice remaining. And then we will get you underway with 6 games of qualifying on this PBA LBC National Championships tournament squad.
This is your 2-minute warning. 2 minutes.
What? I know. Good job. Hey, have a little fun up there, will you? Smile a little bit. Let's go.
Okay, PBA LBC Trevor Bowlers, your 10 minutes of practice is now complete. Before we get started, a reminder that when everyone on your pair is finished, With each game, please make sure to hit the space bar to move your scores to the next pair. Everyone, let's give these competitors a nice round of applause. Good luck and good scoring.
All right, practice is complete. Let's get you down. We'll run you through the entire center here. Everybody on the squad. Brandon Runk, there you see the PBA exempt player not starting the way he wanted to with an open frame. Brandon bowling with his wife, Alexis. They're also bowling with Dennis Ross and Rosalind Stockwell. Alexis Runk bowling in the women's classic division, not surprising as she is a PBA Tour player. Rosalind Stockwell bowling in the women's handicap division, coming in at a 164 average. Dennis Ross coming in the men's handicap division at a 189 average, over on 5 and 6. We have Natalie Dutton, Alan Blakely, Steve Langer, and Jordan Williams. Natalie bowling in the women's classic division. Alan bowling in the open classic division. Steve Langer bowling in the open classic division. And Jordan Williams in the men's handicap division. You see Jordan shaking his head on the way back, but according to USBC rules, after illegal delivery, you must accept the resulting pinfall of that delivery, and even though it was a crossover, you got to take the strike. Let's get over to 7 through 10. On 7 and 8, we have Timothy Nichols, Garrett Gatza, Bill Kenner, Nicholas Lupo. Timothy bowling in the Senior Classic Division. Garrett bowling in the Men's Handicap Division, coming in at a 189 average. Bill Kenner coming in at 200 for the Men's Handicap Division. And Nicholas bowling in the Junior Handicap Division for the boys, coming in with a 202 average. On 9 and 10, Justin Urbano, Kirk Karras, Tony Bennett, Zach Cole. Urbano bowling in the Open Classic Division. Kirk Harris, the men's handicap at a 186 average. Zach Cole in the Open Classic Division. And Tony Bennett also in that Open Classic Division. Let's get you over to lanes 13 and 14, 11 and 12, not in play this squad, not a full squad. So on 13 and 14, we've got Doug Galanka, Alex Don, Todd Seghetti, Sully Keller. Seghetti made a nice run towards the lead last year here, fell a little short. Seghetti in the Open Classic Division. Sully Keller in the Men's Handicap Division at a 184. Doug Galanka in the Open Classic Division. Alex Don bowling the Men's Handicap Division at a 171 pace for the average coming in. And once again, all these pair feeds available to you on the PBA YouTube channel. If you're watching us on the main feed on PBA YouTube, you can go down in that description. And in that description, you'll see all the pair feeds available to you. Right-click on one of those, double tab, keep us on here in the main feed because we'll give you like lane movements, how many pairs the players might be moving. Follow players that are having big games, follow bowlers that might possibly be taking the lead. So, yeah, double tab is the best way to do it. You're just going to get the ambient sound on those pair feeds. So we're your way to go. I see a question in the chat asking about Packy Hanrahan. Packy is not here this weekend. He is scheduled to bowl. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but I'll have him momentarily. As if you follow the PBA League Bowler Certification Facebook page, you'll see a couple of weeks back on a post they had all the players that are bowling And I'll have to get an updated date for Packy when he's bowling. I'll pass that along during game 2. Over to lanes 15 to 18. On 15 and 16, we have Jimmy Orlowski, Steve Lugarich, and Jesse Rivera. Steve bowling in the Open Classic division. Jimmy in the men's handicap coming in at 192. Same for Jesse, except Jesse's at a 196. Over on 17 and 18. Couple of players from the Milwaukee area. With Jess Anderson, Jeffrey Anderson. Jess just started bowling this year. So she's bowling in the women's handicap division. She'll be coming in at a relatively low average, but that's the fun part about this PBA LBC National Championships, as she gets them all to fall for her first mark of the day. For those bowlers not of a higher average, they have the opportunity to compete and feel what it would like to be at a PBA Tour event. That's the goal of this LBC National Championships. You got to record your bowling balls on your score sheet just like the PBA Tour does. You're not bowling at a PBA Tour condition. It's a special condition. It's a little softer than what the players see on tour, but softer doesn't necessarily mean higher scoring, especially for the PBA exempt guys. And just to be able to walk in the door and kind of get your day in the PBA spotlight, it's a lot of fun. One of the big things for these players coming into the PBA LBC National Championships. Over on 17-18, we have Ruth Aiken, Edward Aiken, Jess Anderson, Jeffrey Anderson. As we mentioned, the Andersons both bowling in handicap divisions. Jeff coming in at 196 average. Jess coming in at just over 100. And for the Aikens, Edward in the men's handicap division at 209. Ruth in the women's handicap division at 145. Let's get you over to 19 through 22. 19-20 not in play this squad. 21-22, Tamatsu Nozawa, Trudy Brown, Brandon Disterhalf, and Adam Karras. Adam Karras bowling in the Open Classic division. Brandon bowling in the men's handicap division at a 176 average. Trudy Brown in the women's handicap at 179, and Tamatsu in the men's handicap at a 174 clip. Get you over 23 through 26. We mentioned Cam Crow on this pair, PBA exempt player. Joining Crow on 23 and 24, Colt Anderson, Eric Cannon, and Kim Kreider. Colt bowling in the Open Classic division. Eric also in that same division. Kim bowling in the women's handicap division. Kim coming in at a 118 average. Next door on 25 and 6, Matt Wisniewski, Sam Ritchie, Caleb Boynkin, Austin Boaks. Austin in the Open Classic, same with Wisniewski. Samuel Ritchie, Open Classic as well. And Caleb Boynkin bowling in the boys junior handicap division at a 188 entering average. Wisniewski needs some help to get that one back. Wow, I thought he was going to need help, and he leaves the 2-6-7-10. Not too often you see the 4 get kicked out of that combination for a lefty. I mean, he will still shoot it the same way. Stay here. See if Wisniewski can get this covered. He's got a chance. Oh, just behind the 2-pin. And after a rough start for Cam Crow, spare open, follows it up with a 3-bagger. We've only had a few PBA exempt players bowl so far, and we have not had them fare very well. High right now. In that PBA exempt division was shot in the opening squad. Kyle Troop with a 1390 total. We talked to Justin Knowles last week. You'll see that interview come up in the next day or two on the PBA League Bowler Certification Facebook page. He'll tell you, watch the live streams. If you're coming down to bowl, watch the live streams, watch all the pairs, see if you can find little differences out there on how these players approach as they cross the house. And that's one of the great things about this event. Every frame, every game, every pair, every squad streamed to the PBA YouTube channel, free for everyone to watch. And even if you're not coming in the bowl this year, it can still give you some ideas about what to look for next year, as these lane patterns from year to year have been relatively the same. Little tweaks to them every year. And I'm sure they'll make the announcement very soon with the LBC tournament management on what will be going on for this event in 2026. There you see Kyle Peterson stepping up on 27 and 28. He goes high. Pearson made a run towards perfection late in the event last year. Was trying to win himself one of those mini dukes. Just fell a little short. Kyle Peterson in the Open Classic division. He's bowling on the pair with Tyler Jant and Matthew Pellerito. Pellerito in the men's handicap division coming in at a 185 average. Tyler Jant in the Open Classic division as well. Next door on 29 and 30. Justin Weiss, Lacey Weiss, Scott Nagorski, Riley Dudek. Scott Nagorski in the Senior Classic division. Justin Weiss in the Open Classic, Lacey Weiss in the women's handicap coming in at a 182 average. And Riley Dudek in the girls' junior handicap division coming in at a 169 average. And let's get over to our final pairing. We'll take a little look in on them in game 2 to kick off as well. With Jorge Cara, Steve Bequest, Lawrence Fleming. Only 3 on that pair. Jorge bowling in the Senior Classic division. Same for Bequest. And Lawrence Fleming in the men's handicap coming in at a 169 average. Great toss there by Dudek. Let's check in as Cam Crow continues to strike. And let's make it a 6-pack on the board for Crow. Players after game 1 will be skipping. The majority of them will be skipping one pair and landing on the second. So the players you see here on 23 and 24, they're going to go over to 27 and 28. Only thing that's a little different with 11 and 12 not being played as squad. The players you see on 7 and 8 this game will move to 15 and 16. And then the players on 5 and 6, instead of moving to 11 and 12, they are going to be moving to lanes 7 and 8. So a little shifting around. If you get a question about a player, drop it in the chat. I'll try to answer it as quick as I can if you're trying to follow them around. It was funny, Cam Crow, I see in the chat mentioning Justin Knowles and using that 78 hardness urethane last week. Cam Crow this morning said, I brought one urethane. It's the worst one that I own. Whatever that might be, just a weird drilling firm or whatever might be happening. He said he only brought one, so he'll have to go to reactive resin otherwise, but with Crow off to a good start this morning, no matter what ball's in his mitt on this 42-foot, 31.25 milliliter pattern with about a 4.5 to 1 ratio outside the lane to in. Yeah, it looks a little scuffy, so I would think that would be a urethane in Cam Crow's hands. There you see the powerful lefty strap it up, mix it up. He had some success in this building as a PTQ player back when they had the 2023 Illinois Open. And Cam Crow in a non-PBA event this past Memorial Day weekend took down $10,000 in an event in Michigan, so a nice payday there while finishing in the top 8, or just outside the top 8 actually, finished in 9th place after a roll-off at the PBA Celeste Walker Midwest Regional in Lockport, Illinois. So qualified for the Michigan event on a Friday night. Drove back, bowled Saturday, Sunday in Illinois, and then had match play in the event in Michigan on Monday, and that was a pretty productive and full pay weekend for Crow. So there we go, player movement. As you said, most players skipping a pair landing on the second. Your players on 7 and 8 actually are moving to 15 and 16. Your players on 5 and 6 are moving over to 7 and 8. As game 2 of the morning squad here at Bolero Mount Prospect. As we're getting near the halfway point of the PBA LBC National Championships. Still some room. Next weekend's pretty booked up. You're not going to find any room next weekend. But the first 2 weekends in July, still room on most squads. Get all your information, pba.com/LBC tournament. And you can find out everything you need to know about this PBA LBC National Championships. All right, as we're into game 2, we'll start here on 27 through 30. Get a little Cam Crow throwing for you. Cam Crow, 232 opening game. Our other PBA exemplar in the squad, Brandon Runk. Start with 213. Crow with a great comeback, though, considering he was in the 30s in frame 3 for his score after a spare and 2 opens. AJ Chapman, we're going to probably have AJ in here, if not game 4, maybe game 5, depending on travel and such for AJ. He'll be bowling on the 2 p.m. squad today. You talk about a loaded squad at 2 p.m. today. As it's going to have AJ Chapman, Zach Wilkins, and EJ Tackett all on those squads, and we'll have Tim Foy Jr. in the booth to talk some bowling, talk about what he sees on tour with those players, and answer any fan questions that may be out there. That'll be on our 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern squad here from Bolero Mound Prospect. And then Tim Foy Jr., who you'll listen to today at 2. He bowls tomorrow at 11 a.m. Once again, no booth squad for tonight's 7 p.m. squad or for tomorrow morning's 11 a.m. squad. But happy to bring you some chat with the PBA exempt players whenever possible, and we're going to have that in a little while with AJ Chapman, and then we'll have it this afternoon with Tim Foy Jr. Haven't gotten into the Red Barn restaurant yet. A couple of weekends ago, I usually get down here on Friday night, and found a couple good places to eat around Bolero Mount Prospect. Red Barn was packed, and they had a band going on outside, so didn't get a chance to stop by, but I've heard nothing but good things about Red Barn. Maybe I'll have to have lunch there on the way out of town on a Sunday one of these days. So thanks for dropping that in there, Green Machine. Definitely will keep that in mind. Talking to a couple of the PBA exempt pros, they said pair-to-pair in the center can get a little tricky. One young man who didn't have a problem with pair-to-pair, at least early on. On Tuesday night, there was a special LBC National Championship squad in conjunction with the PBA Junior World Series of Bowling that was held Monday through Thursday here at Bolero Mount Prospect. And a young man from Tennessee, Weston Griffin, became the first bowler in PBA LBC National Championships history to throw back-to-back 300s. Did that in games 2 and 3 of his block, on lanes 5 and 6 and lanes 9 and 10. Had 833 in total for his first 3 games and rode that to a 1523 6-game total. And Weston is your current Open Classic Division leader. The young players in the Junior World Series have only had the option of either staying in their boys or girls division, but those are handicap pin divisions. And so if they average over 220, their better option is bowling in the Open Classic or Women's Classic divisions. Weston Griffin did that successfully. with selecting the Open Classic division to bowl in. And we had a young lady on that Tuesday night squad, Kylie Sim, who took over the women's handicap division. As Sim had a great series. Where she was 250 pins above her entering average. So Kylie Sim, another leader coming off that Tuesday night squad, that for the women's handicap. And for the women's classic division, it's still Gianna Brandolino, which is surprising this many weeks in, as we are in the fourth weekend of this event. Gianna Bold opening weekend, she's your defending PBA LBC National Championships class champion. She took down $60,000 in Portland, Maine last year in that shootout. And Gianna's still in the lead at a 12.56 six-game total, but something tells me that total may be going down today. As between this squad and our squad at 2 p.m., there are some solid ladies players taking to the lanes. And I would think if there's one division we're going to see a new leader in this weekend, it's going to be the women's classic division. So we'll stay here for now, not just because Cam Crow has been throwing a few strikes. We'll check in on Brandon Runk momentarily. But Austin Books, Open Classic Division bowler, he's on the front six right next door to Crow. Books on 29-30. looking for some other runs at perfection currently. I don't see any out there on the scoreboards. But that's why we have the main feed here for you. Follow the hot hands. Books from the jersey he's got on. I'm assuming he's a young player, youth player that paid the extra money to bump up to the Open Classic division. Young players do have the option of remaining in either the boys handicap or girls junior handicap divisions, but they can pay the additional entry fee. It's only $100 enter those boys junior or girls junior handicap divisions. It's a higher entry fee for the Open Classic or for the young ladies, the Women's Classic division. They can pay the entry fee difference, or could have paid the entry fee difference at the time of entry. As Crow can't get the dance to the 10 pin, everything dances away from it. Thanks everybody tuning in to the booth feed this morning. Do us a favor, drop a little note on your social media. You're watching some PBA LBC National Championships action this morning. Let them know they can watch anytime we have a squad on PBA's YouTube channel. As Crow with the conversion. Boaks, not a good game one, a 183, and now he's going to be rapidly going backwards as he's looking at back-to-back opens here in game two. take a peek in on Brandon Runk. As we mentioned, not the greatest of starts for Runk. These PBA exempt guys, think every game should be 250 or better, especially in a pattern like this. 213 the opening game for Runk. He's working on a four-bagger now after open frame in the fourth, so he can still get to 246. If he can ride it out here in the ninth and 10th, there's the one in the ninth. Let's get back over to Crow. As Crow can still get to 269. Hey, 500 after two. Quality start. You got to figure the number that these PBA exempt players are looking at shooting. Try to take down that division title. Is about 1,500. I mean, obviously last year, Graham Fa, the anomaly of the 1631 for his 6 games, averaging 272. It could happen again. It could happen from anyone again, let's be honest. In our Open Classic, Women's Classic. Heck, Liz Johnson has averaged over 250 in this event the first 2 years as she's won the Women's Classic division both times. Liz will be bowling a little later in the tournament. Morning, Brian. Thanks for tuning in. Hope all is well on a warm day in anywhere. Let's be honest. I was watching the Weather Channel last night when I got to the hotel, and they're just like, yeah, if you're anywhere west of the Rockies, yeah, if you're not baking now, you're going to be baking by Monday. And Crow shreds him on up. We'll get back down to Brendan Runk for his 10th frame. And his wife Alexis should be bowling at the same time. So Alexis Runk, first strike in the 10th. Let's see what Brandon can do here as he's trying to get to a 246 finishing score. Gets the first one to tickle on down. Crow, first ball of the 10th, looking to get to 269. That one, wow. Oh, huge break. That's where the speed and power come into play. Got that head pin to come back off the sideboard and still managed to take the 3-pin down, leaving just the 7-pin. So 248 now, the max. For Crow. We'll get back to Alexis and Brandon Runk. We'll give you the radio call on Crow's spare. Alexis Runk, big double in the 10th. As we said, that 1256 or using the PBA scoring system. Plus 56 total of Gianna Brandolino in the women's classic division. Ripe for the picking today, whether it's by Alexis Runk or other lady players coming in over the weekend. I think Crow is going to make a ball change. Let's see if he was kidding around and if he actually does have another urethane with him. Yeah, that one's got a little shine to her for Crow. Here you're going to see Runk give me the 230s, 235 with that spare. And Cam Crow looking to get to 248. That shot creeps a bit high. So your players this game, as you see Cam Crow going right next door, all the players moving one pair to their right. Here on the morning squad on a Saturday from Blair Mount Prospect and the 2025 PBA LBC National Championships. Still room to get in the last couple of weekends. Of this event. Next weekend, 5 squads over 3 days, all sold out or very close to a sellout. There might be room on the Sunday squad next week, but your best bet to get in, get yourself a little action here at the PBA LBC National Championships is in those first 2 weekends in July. Get all your tournament information, pba.com/LBC tournament. And player movement in Game 3 coming up next. Well, a little breaking news. Todd Seghetti, we mentioned during Game 1 how he had a run at perfection last year. Can't run perfection here in Game 2, but he can get himself back in a nice position for the standings and make a run at the lead as he's going for a possible 280 here. Great toss by Seghetti. He's had some quality ball throwing here at Bolero Mount Prospect over the last couple of years. And Thelma, yeah, I know the scoreboards get a little hard to read because we have to use cameras on them instead of having lane talk. I'm a big lane talk fan as well. But when you're throwing as many strikes as Seghetti, you kind of know it's a big game regardless. So Seghetti looking to go for 280, get himself to plus 91 for 2. Well, plus 90 after that 279 game. Could make that run 15-23 on top of the Open Classic division with Weston Griffin, the man in that spot. Bruiser. You're the first person today I got to put in a timeout. Everybody, don't ask so much. All I ask is for everybody to play nice in the chat, and then somebody like Bruiser's got to come in and insult our bowlers. I will not stand for insulting our bowlers, as the objects, one of the goals of this PBA LBC National Championship, now in its third year, is to afford bowlers that may not have the average of a Brandon Runk, of a Cam Crow, to walk into an event and get the experience of what PBA players go through on a particular squad. And if you're lucky, like some of the players on this pair with Cam Crow, get the chance to bowl with him on your pair. You're not bowling against the PBA exempt players. They have their own division. But to say, hey, I was on a pair with Cam Crow, or like Green Machine said earlier, hey, I beat Justin Knowles on my squad. You take a little pride in that. They may have had the best of days. You had a good day. You got past a PBA exempt professional. It's one of the fun parts about this PBA LBC National Championships event. So AJ Chapman will be here shortly. We'll get him in here. Should have him in for game 4 for sure. If he gets here a little early, we'll try to drag him in. Hey, there's the wall shot. Nice catch there on the wall shot by Kim Kreider. Get those questions lined up in the chat for AJ Chapman. And, yeah, Derek, there's quite a few people I know that are going to be here for that 2 o'clock squad to watch in person. I mean, when you get a lineup like EJ Tackett, AJ Chapman, and Zach Wilkins on the lanes during an LBC National Championship squad, there's going to be fans who are going to come. Yeah, it's a great time, too, because it's a little more relaxed atmosphere for the players. So it's a lot easier to get autographs, selfies with the players, that type of thing. Some of them might even let you take it between a game as they walk by. Normally in PBA competition, the only time players are allowed to sign autographs and take pictures and such is before the first ball of practice is thrown or after the last ball of competition is thrown. But with it being a little more relaxed here, I mean, obviously, if you're here, ask nicely. If they say, I'll get you after, then wait till after. But it's fun watching the exempt players just talk to the everyday people like you and I on lanes. And they give, I've seen, players give tips. Graham Fott was here a couple of weeks ago. He's giving tips to one of the players he was bowling with. And then last weekend with Justin Knowles. He was on a pair with a couple of people from Wausau, Wisconsin. He said they had a wonderful time together. He also bowled with a good friend of his, AJ. yeah, even though he didn't have the result he wanted, he still had a good time while he was here. Definitely not the life and death battle of the PBA Tour when the players are here at the LBC National Championships. Forecast high here in Mount Prospect today, 99 degrees. With the humidity, the heat index is going to be 108. You talk about just having a good day to be inside. Air conditioning on 100% here inside of Bolero Mount Prospect. It is comfortable for the players this morning and will stay that way all day. As Crow gets the backdoor 6. How about that? Adam Karras. There's a gentleman I've seen a couple times on our Brew City Bowling Show, the local TV production I do up in southeastern Wisconsin when I'm not in the middle of the LBC National Championship season. Had 30 weeks of TV on the local, well, the CW's sister station there in Milwaukee we were on. So 180,000 total viewers, according to ComScore, we had on a 30-week season. So about 6,000 bowling fans a week watched us in Milwaukee. And the fun part about that is it's just like here at the LBC National Championships. We have bowlers of all averages, all abilities on there. I see there's 4 bowlers on this squad that have made appearances on the Brew City Bowling Show over time in southeastern Wisconsin that are on this squad. So, and they're all average ranges too. We've got Scott Nagorski in the Senior Classic division. We've got Matt Wisniewski we saw earlier, who's in the Open Classic division. Adam Karras. Yeah, so when you're only bowling 4 frames on TV, it goes by real quick. A lot different than a 6-game qualifying block. When they only bowl a 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th frame. It really goes by quick for those players. Just had a little joking conversation about Brandon Runk, about how he's working on his plant game this morning. Him and his wife, Alexis, both stopping by the booth. So So let's peek in on Alexis as she gets them all to fall. Alexis 2 under after 2 games. Brandon Runk plus 48. So he'll need to pick up the pace a little bit if he wants to get by that score of Kyle Troop in the PBA exempt division. We only had a couple of players bowl in that division, so that score of 1390 set by Kyle Troop on the opening squad of the event. Hard to believe it's the 4th weekend already. Lots of bowlers already. We've got 1,300 bowlers in this event signed up already, and I'm sure there'll be more to make their way. As signups are still available. Lots of openings those last 2 weekends of this event, July 5th and 6th, July 12th and 13th. Well, something's got to get to that 10-pin for Cam. Just watching everything he threw to the right. Let's get back over to Brandon Runk. And Runk throws a 4-bagger on the board. So, Ricky Bobby, you just spectating at 2 o'clock, or are you just playing chauffeur? What's not bowling on that 2 o'clock squad? Oh, and a bad break there for Alexis Runk. Light shaker on the 4. Back to Crow. Looking to put 270 on the board here in game 3. That'll get him in real good shape. Oh, and nothing near the 6 and the 8. So right now, let's give you your leaders in all divisions. So we mentioned Tuesday night we had a couple of lead changes. Weston Griffin taking over the Open Classic division. 833 for his first 3 games with a 233 opener. How about that for Crow? You don't become a PBA exempt player without being able to make splits like that when necessary. Griffin, 233, back-to-back 300s, 211, 245, 234 to get to that 1523 total. Gianna Brandolino at 1256 in the women's classic division. In the men's handicap division, Robert Morris bowled opening weekend, and he's sitting at a 1502 total with his handicap. Came in with a 173 entering average. And had all games bowled over his average with a high game of 239 in game 5. In the women's handicap division, we mentioned Kylie Sim, who bowled up out of the girls' junior handicap division. into the women's handicap. Sim with a 1478 total with handicap, leading that division at the moment. In our senior classic division, Brian Castle with a total of 1353. Castle, low game. He started with a 186, but then finished with a 269 in game 4, 266 in game 6 to get into that lead. I don't know if that 1353 is going to hold up. And a huge break there for Crow. Is he going to take them all down? It was pretty close on that shot, but he'll be in the 230s again, so he'll be 100 pins over, plus a few extras with a spare here for his first 3 games. Yeah, I don't see 1353 holding up in the senior classic. That's going to be more in the 1440, 1450 range, especially with the large squad coming in of PBA 50 players this coming Friday. So a special squad. We'll have a booth feed on that for you this coming Friday, June 27th, 1 p.m. the starting time locally for that squad, so 2 p.m. Eastern for that special Friday squad for our PBA 50 Tour players. There's a lot of them be in the area coming off the Hammond, Indiana National PBA 50 Tour start that starts Monday with the PBA South Shore Open. Longtime hosts at Olympia Lanes in Hammond for PBA and PBA 50 events. It's got to be nearing 40 years they've done that. And then once that event completes on Thursday, they'll come over here for Friday and get underway. Friday at 1 p.m. All right, and as promised, joining me in the booth this morning, here is AJ Chapman. AJ, good morning to you, sir. How you doing today?
Good morning, Phil. How we doing? I'm good.
Good. You traveling last night from what somebody in the chat here has been telling me? You got in last night, had a little fun in town?
Yeah, drove over from Manchester. So
okay.
Kind of in Iowa hanging out for the summer with my parents. It's been really good. We've been doing some clinics across western Iowa and northeast Iowa too, so those have gone really well. So we had to buzz over here and get in the booth again and give this another shot.
Yeah, 2 o'clock this afternoon. You're bowling on the same squad with Zach Wilkins and EJ Tackett.
Yep.
And looking at this LBC National Championships pattern, have you put it out at home and tried to bowl on it at all? Or
No, I actually haven't.
Okay.
Nope.
So what's I know somebody's already asking what's he got in the bag already? What's going on? So when it's a little softer pattern like this for the LBC National Championships compared to what you gentlemen see on tour and somebody like Alexis Runk, what she sees on the PWBA tour, how do you pack that the 6 balls you're bringing to an event like this a little differently?
There's a couple similarities and a couple differences. Obviously, you can bring some more high risk, high reward bowling balls. Like the faster response ones. Maybe you'll throw an extra one of those in. So I think I have a 1 reverb and a vaporize, whereas in a normal 6-ball tournament arsenal, I probably wouldn't bring both of them.
Okay.
Vaporize is a little sharper version of that, but still got a GB5 in the bag because that's my benchmark ball, so that'll be there whether they're tough or easy. And then just a couple other new balls actually. But it depends for sure, but definitely definitely you can bring some of those balls that might not, sometimes they're a little too fast off the dry when the patterns are flat, but they can give you a lot of strikes if they're a little bit easier.
Okay. So, yeah, and kind of surprising at this point that we haven't had a PBA exempt player put up 1,400 for their 6 games yet to get to that 200 over mark.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I remember the one year that we all bowled together, basically, and the scores were lower because the pattern was built more for the average rev rate instead of the PBA Tour rev rate. So they stopped doing that exempt squad because our scores were actually lower than the other divisions because we screwed them up too much. There was too much rev rate.
Yeah, it's just whenever people I run into, talking about when they know I've been out following you guys on the tour for days with extra frame and flow bowling and other stuff, and they just go, "Is it really that much different?" I go, "Yes, it's that much different. You can't recreate what these PBA Tour professionals do to the lanes unless you're actually at a PBA Tour event. Because even the regional level, because you have some players at the regional level that might not have the rev rate or ability that you guys on tour do, it can get kind of close, but it's not even the same. So watching you guys that opening year at Bolero Wauwatosa on that squad, and there's guys loft in the left gutter in game 3 and stuff like that because of how much it got burned out. Yeah, the rev rates and ball speeds and equipment used, because you guys are usually in the most aggressive piece of equipment you can stay in until you can't stay in it any longer, and then it's working your way down the progression. So
Yep, exactly. We use, pros do a really good job of using the friction, so we use more surface and more balls or stronger balls than the average person will use for sure.
Yeah, and your benchmark ball will change from pattern to pattern.
Yeah,
honestly, where a lot of people just look at a benchmark ball and just go, okay, I'm going to start with this, and then maybe I'll ball up, maybe I'll ball down. You guys are like, we're on the Shark. Here's my benchmark for this one, and here we're on the Cheetah. My benchmark's going to be this one.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure.
It changes a lot.
True. That's definitely true. On all the 39 or shorter patterns, it's pretty much okay. I'm going to have to at least bring out a urethane ball. So that's going to be the first one you look at no matter what. It just it's what the game's turned into, right? We got to use them. So they're a useful tool, especially to stretch those shorter patterns, and actually can make them easier too. Yeah, the pros do a good job of that, and then we can do a different benchmark ball. But then you could get to maybe your more normal one. But you're right, you can have multiple ones for different patterns for sure.
Alexis Runk, this has just got to look so wide open for after dealing with a week at Sun Valley Lanes and Games and,
no kidding.
in Lincoln after the Women's U.S. Open. Were you as surprised as a lot of us were that they basically used the same patterns that maybe a little bit of volume difference for the ladies' U.S. Open that you guys had to ball on this year in the men's at Woodland?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely interesting that they've pretty much been the same the last 2 years for us too. So they're using similar patterns, but across obviously different building and different surface. But it was definitely interesting to see the scores, how they reflected with the difference in rev rate or the difference in just guys versus girls. Yeah, and for just to bowl 290 in the finals is unbelievable.
Nobody else in the finals shoots above 190 for her opponents the entire time, and she made. She made it look easy.
What absolute performance.
Alan Riley, what ball can I get that makes me awesome? It's not just the bowling ball there, obviously, as we can joke about that. But all right, let's say, since we got some time with you right now, they're going to be moving games. What's the ball in your bag recently that's been making you look awesome, AJ Chapman? Why would that ball make you look awesome compared to maybe another piece?
Knowing Alan very, very well, and that he'll be up here in 10 minutes is a little different. But Alan, any ball that you throw will make you awesome. How about that? The ball that I've been throwing that has made me look awesome definitely is the one reverb. So, okay. The new Paragon Shadow has been pretty good so far too. I just drilled that one this week, but in a couple practice sessions, it's really impressed me. So.
I know Tom Doherty, I keep seeing something about, he keeps saying if it's not a purple, it's a paradox. So his bag, especially after he took down the senior masters him and Parker were just incredible that entire week.
Yeah. Isn't it kind of crazy that it felt, it was that their 5th senior title of the year?
Yeah.
It almost felt like, okay, when is Tom going to win? That's how crazy high expectations, how crazy high his and everybody else's expectations for him probably were.
Right.
Like, why did it take till the Masters? Why did it take 5 times?
Right.
That's insane. That's just how good he is. So
Yeah, it's always been that way with the guys coming off the main tour, or even a guy like Tom that bowls the tour, as he, the guys on the senior tour call it the kids tour.
Yep. Yeah.
There's still Chris.
You
Chris
can put Barnes in
and
that
him,
category too. Yeah. Yep.
So, let's see. We're finishing off this game. Let's take a little audio intermission, and we'll get AJ back in there. Start piling those questions in the chat, everybody. We know that you always like asking these PBA exempt players, picking their brains, getting ideas about what to not only do for your bowling, but what they might be doing here at the PBA LBC National Championships. And we'll have AJ Chapman back with us in a few minutes after player movement. And your player movement between Games 3 and Games 4 is they're going to be skipping 2 pairs and landing on the 3rd. So the players you see here, 21 and 22, they're moving over to 27 and 28. And players making the big turn this game. The players on 27 and 28 will be going down to 3 and 4. So he's AJ Chapman. I'm $2 Phil. And after player movement, we'll talk a little bit more with AJ. Thanks, everybody. So game 4 underway. We'll stick with this pair. We'll get back to Brandon and Alexis Runkin. Cam Crow momentarily.
All right.
As we have AJ Chapman in the booth. And let's see some of the questions in the chat. Boy, Ricky Bobby must be a really good friend of yours because he's asking who's your favorite tour roommate. So,
Oh, now he's just trying to pump up a guy he's with, Zach Wilkins. I bet he's in the car with Zach right now on the way over here.
So Zach, now in the Kansas City area, so you guys aren't too far apart. You guys ever both, run into him at any tournaments outside the tour or anything, with him being relatively close by?
No, I mean, Kansas City, he's like 7 hours from me, I think, 'cause I'm just on the north side of Dallas.
Okay.
But, yeah, we actually met in Sioux Falls to do a clinic and kind of a classroom at a youth tournament last weekend, actually.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the next big thing. Yeah, it was cool. It was a really good event. We ran a clinic on Thursday before the event, had 18 kids come out. Then we did a classroom session Friday afternoon and had more than that. I don't even know the total number we had. And then we did a youth adult that evening. So all the money for the event went towards the South Dakota, Montana Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Okay.
It's really cool. So during the adult youth Friday night, they raffled off tickets, and each ticket was a mulligan. So if they split or did something, you could use a ticket and have Zach or I throw a shot for you instead.
Oh, geez, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was all the money went towards the Make-A-Wish, which was really cool. So we were scrambling around throwing shots. And it was leftover, the short pattern was on the first half the pairs, and the long pattern was on the other half the pairs. So we'd rotate every 30 minutes, but we were scrambling, and we were hot and sweaty, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So we've got Cam Crow here on 5 and 6. He starts with a spare. Let's check up on Brandon and Alexis Runk.
Alrighty.
Brandon's got himself a 3-bagger after an open frame. Now, last time the tour was here was 2024. They were here in February.
Yep.
And then obviously last year at the LBC National Championships. Do you have any notes that you took for yourself or things that you remember from crossing the house on either of those events that could help you out today?
Yeah, I do remember that it's like 27 and 28. I bowled Kevin McCune on that pair a couple years ago, or at that stop in the round of 24, I think. Yep. And one of them has a different panel, or did have a different panel at one point. I think, like the middle panel on that lane, the one past the arrows, on the right lane was different. I want to say in like lane 28. So knowing that they replaced that one with a different surface, it was just an awareness thing. But I know across the house can get kind of goofy here. Obviously, we're just getting to that age where synthetics are getting kind of beat up.
Yeah.
So they are at the point where needing panels are starting to get replaced and needing to get replaced because they're getting chewed up.
Yeah, one thing, and as a lefty myself, one thing I've noticed following some of the lefties like Cam Crow, some of the better lefties, Cam Crow, Brandon Runk, and Graham Fa here, the left side, and it's really not that big of a pattern difference, but getting the ball to get 10 every time for these guys this year has been a little tougher in this house, and obviously they get less wear. It's like, 5, 6, 7 more times more wear on the right side than there is on the left. So if you have a 25-year-old lane on the right side, the lane bed's 25 years old, it's like 25 years old on the right. It's only like 5 years old on the left, and that's a lot of the problems with putting lane patterns out there that are equitable. It's a really fine line between a fair lane pattern and something that either the lefties are going to feast or famine on, or the lefties will get shut out and the righties will have a field day on it. It's such a tough thing to deal with week in and week out on tour. I mean, how do you deal with that when there's just the pattern that all of a sudden you think you're going to match up and then you don't? I mean, what's the process of trying to save that week? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely about trying to grind and find a check on the weeks when you don't have it. That's always my goal. If there's one of those. Oh, shoot. Sorry, someone just went out on the lane. Oh. Matthew's stuck. Yeah, apparently the approaches are pretty tacky. Yeah, well, and on days like today, one thing bowlers need to remember too is that sometimes having extra, if you have those interchangeable slide soles, sometimes extras, brand new ones of your same sole that might be your favorite, might be a saving grace because it's not only the approaches that hold moisture. Your slide sole's leather. What does leather do when it gets dry? When the weather's dry, it gets, if you have a leather jacket, you got to make sure you condition it because if it stays in dry weather and indoors all the time, it cracks.
Yep.
So, and if it gets humid, then it's in good shape.
So we're in Chicago in June, and it's 95 degrees outside, and the humidity is probably close to 100. So they're gonna be tacky.
How many slide soles do you have with your
probably 12
in your bowling bag? Yeah,
probably 12 in my backpack right now.
So
that's actually one of our little sessions that we started doing in our clinics was like a what's in the backpack. What does an elite level bowler bring around with them? What kind of stuff do they need to have in their bag? And it's just some other random stuff people might not expect. Ibuprofen and random, some tape, deck of cards. It's just like little small things that you actually end up needing to have, or it's going to be a benefit to you at some point if it's in your bag.
Yeah, breakfast of champions, an energy drink, and a handful of ibuprofen.
Yep.
There you go.
sounds like a start of a tour block for most of the guys.
Yeah, definitely a start of a PBA 50 tour block. No doubt about that with those guys in Hammond. So, let's see. We've got some AJ. Somebody says AJ is going to bowl well this afternoon. That from Derek Harris. So, all
right. Well, I sure hope so.
You've got that going for you.
Okay.
Let's see. Perry Riley says Ricky Bobby don't open in the 9th or 10th frames. So apparently they're going back and forth in the chat. So apparently Ricky Bobby had a bad experience in the 10th frame lately.
Yeah, probably. I wonder if that's his kid, JJ.
So how many? So let's give people what you do before a squad. You come in, you're watching a little bit. Obviously, you can watch the pairs right in front of us here in the booth, but you can watch the pairs that pop up on the live feed as well.
Yeah.
What do you do in that hour before the squad starts to get yourself mentally and physically ready to bowl, whether it's LBC or a tour event or a local tournament in your area?
Yeah, I mean, like this one and more like the normal local events, obviously there's no practice ahead of time, right? Like we don't have a session that, a normal regional or national stop will have an actual practice session on the pattern, usually the day ahead of time, at least the morning of or something. Yeah. So it's a little bit different with this. This one's nice, right? Because like you said, we're here. We can actually watch a squad in front of us. So if I'm able to watch, if I could find the best bowler on the squad or the closest bowler in the squad that throws it like me, I'm going to watch them throw some shots, see what kind of balls they're throwing, see what's working, see what's not working. And even if they're, if they're a different company, whatever, it's like, okay, are they throwing a big A-sim and having success? Okay, make sure I bring in a big A-sim in, But it's stuff like that. Look for consistencies, and I've used this term a bunch recently, but bowling is a game of, basically infinite variables. So we just need to control the ones we can control and not let the other ones get in the way, whatever. So
Brendan Reck not having much fun this game now. Blower 7-10 as the ball responds.
Yeah, that was not nice.
A little late.
That was not nice. It seems like they're battling early hook, but obviously they're watching two lefties that are both throwing urethane right now. I was watching Cam down there at the high end before I got in the booth, and he was bowling well, but he had two trip sixes and a 6-8, and he's already at 13, 14 with a black hammer. It just looks like there's so much early hook on that side, so they're battling the fronts probably across the house is going to be what's tough. And obviously Brandon just had that same thing there with one got either a little too much in the front or a little too lazy, and then maybe they got the same thing going on.
Yeah.
Dang.
Cam having a little issue with the footwork.
Yeah.
On that shot. So you got a Mini Duke last year?
Yeah.
You're in the Mini Duke.
Yeah.
Where is that sitting in your home?
It's in the box still.
It's still in the box.
It's in the box. I got it presented to me this year at a Pro-Am on the national tour. So once I got back, I pretty much was home for like a week, and then we settled this stuff up, and then I left I've been on the road for almost 2 months now.
Yeah.
But nationals in Kansas City for a week, then I've been in and out of Iowa for the last month. So I haven't unboxed it yet. So it's sitting in my apartment. It's either in the garage with all the rest of my boxes, or it's on my island in the living room.
It's
or the kitchen.
It's such a cool award for a perfect game
it is.
on this event, and it's kind of ironic. Now we've had 5 300s so far over the first 3 weekends, plus because we actually had 3 300s Tuesday night in that PBA Junior World Series of Bowling special squad.
Wow, that's cool.
Of this event. The kid at Weston Griffin had back-to-back 300s.
Right? I thought I saw that.
And one of them was on 5 and 6, then he went over to 9 and 10. And then later on that night, Christian Peterson out of Wisconsin had 300 on 5 and 6.
Wow, so that's a
and
good pair.
then second weekend of the tournament, there was a 300 on 5 and 6.
That must be the best pair in here.
It seems to be the best pair.
Okay.
If you can find something, they seem to all be
hopefully I'm
falling.
Cross it then. Hopefully I'm going to catch it at some point. That'd be nice.
Catch it game 6. I
Yeah.
mean, there you go.
Okay.
Get yourself
That'd be a nice way to finish.
And it's been a variety of styles. I mean, the young man that's Christian Pearson, not a high rev, high speed player. Weston Griffin kind of has the Chris Prather look to him with overall. And actually with the jersey, it was actually one of Chris's styles.
Oh, funny.
So that was pretty good.
Funny.
And then, but yeah, it's kind of weird. We're 4 weeks in the fourth weekend now, 5 300s, and 3 of them have been on this one pair.
This pair.
So and the other 2 were up on 9 and 10, and then one up on the high side on 31 and 32.
Yeah.
So that's 31 32 has been a pretty good pair.
It's funny
All
we
the way
talk
through.
about like consistencies in pairs like that. It's the same thing at the Bowlers Journal down at Nationals.
Yeah.
I bowled 2 sets and bowled in the same pair both times, and I had 738, 748, so I had 2 solid sets. And then when Mitch went down and bowled, he had the triplicate 279s.
Oh yeah.
And bowled 837, but he was also on 11 and 12, the same pair that I
Same
bowled
pair.
both my sets
Okay.
on. And I sent that to him, and he said, yeah, apparently the guy that had 840, I think John Rakowski,
Yeah.
was also on that pair,
Oh
too.
wow.
So, like, apparently all the scores are 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 are supposed to be the 2 best scoring pairs in there.
Okay.
But it's definitely been some – and then they're definitely a little easier anyway, so there's been some scores regardless. But a lot of them are coming off one of those 2 pairs.
Okay.
So, similar kind of situation going on with 5 and 6 here. That's cool. You know, if you look close enough, you'll see patterns. You see
absolutely.
stuff. Yeah, a lot of people don't look at that and the numbers of the data sometimes, but there's a lot more there if you pay attention or if you know how to pay attention to the right stuff.
Somebody asking about how your golf game's going lately. How is the golf game going
Good.
lately?
Yeah, it's good.
What's your handicap index for golf?
I think my app says like 12 and a half.
Okay.
Or 12 or 11 and a half, something like that.
Okay.
But I just started, and I bet the first 20 rounds in there are there's probably a mulligan each time. So it's probably closer to, I bet it's probably pretty close, though.
Still not too bad. 13
Yeah.
or 14 is not a bad handicap to carry. Not all of us can be a Ronnie Wrestler or an AJ Chapman.
Yeah, that's tough. I've been playing at a local course in Manchester that where my parents live. My brother actually works there. But it's short. It's 9 holes. But we played around twice the other day, and I had my best round score-wise, so that was cool.
Excellent.
So that was fun.
Yeah, I saw Ronnie wrestle at a hole-in-one. He was out in Maine for
For that
charity tournament.
Yeah, again, the one he won last year.
Yeah.
I remember he just posted like 3 weeks ago, almost holding one, basically broke the hole.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I guess number 3 will have to wait. I guess it only had to wait a couple weeks because
Yeah.
it happened right away.
Nice.
Jeez.
Let's see. Since you threw your 300 with the GB5 last year, is it
Yes.
back in your bag today? Someone's asking.
100%.
So
It'll probably be the first ball I bring out.
okay.
And it generally is. It's definitely one of the first 3 that I'm bringing out no matter what. So.
Well, here we go. Now, we were talking benchmarks for 4 different patterns and that type of thing.
Yeah.
For a softer pattern like this, because a lot of the patterns you guys bowl on tour are 2-to-1 outside in or less.
Yep.
Very rarely do you guys see a 3-to-1 like the whole, like the Roth.
Yeah.
And then it's a strike fest for you guys. This one's really soft for you guys, 4.5-to-1.
Yep.
How do you make your moves different on a softer pattern as compared to making them when you guys are following each other on tour? I mean, are you analyzing your moves differently today than you would if it was the PBA Illinois Open in this building?
A little bit. It's probably just, honestly, with the pattern being a little bit softer, they're just going to be, the mindset's a little different to start. And, you're okay with throwing a couple more strikes or maybe being a little more aggressive in ball changes because there's score out there.
Yeah.
But then the biggest thing is just who are you following? So it's like watching the people in front of you because on the tour you're going to be following a good bowler.
Right.
But you still got to watch because there's different kinds of good bowlers on tour. Following Frankie versus following DJ is going to be a huge difference. Mm-hmm. So in tournaments like this where there are a bunch of amateurs, it's important to watch what they're doing in front of you to have any kind of idea. So if 3 of the 4 of them are bowling really bad, it's hard to get an idea. But if somebody's bowling good, you want to at least watch them and have an idea what's going on, what they're doing right on that pair versus everybody else.
And it's not just the bowler, but probably what equipment they have in their hand as well. Because there's some players that are slower ball speed, low rev rate that are probably throwing polished resin, really tame resin, or they might even. I've seen a couple players that have been in here that have thrown polyester.
Yeah.
For their games. So Yeah, so that's another thing you need to keep in mind is Cam Crow, I think this may be his first Open since game 1.
Yeah, he spared the 6-8 in the 9th last game.
Let's see what Runk's doing here before we go back. Runk's almost finishing game 4.
He's going to say he got 2-1 left, 2-16 if he doubles here in the 10th. Got a hook.
Oh, that urethane's just he gets
wavering now.
deep with urethane, and then if he gets a little out with resin, it seems to get over aggressive on him. That's the over under you're not looking for.
I know I fell off that one a little bit, but I think he definitely wanted that one to hook more than it did, or he was thinking it was supposed to more than it did.
Yeah. So Crow did open.
Yeah, a little big 4 combo there.
And Runk, he's not going to gain. He's going to actually lose pins.
Yeah,
To the
got to make
plus.
this stay. Unfortunately, looking at 180 with if he doesn't spare this. Yeah,
Not going to happen.
yep, 184.
Yeah, somebody in the chat made a comment of, it's got to be hard to read, for you to read what's going on out here right now, just from the variety of bowlers that you're seeing in front of you, because, we've got women's handicap, men's handicap, you've got an exempt player like Camp Crow, you've got some solid scratch players as well, and it's got to be tough for you to get a read on what's going on out there right now.
Yeah, and stuff like this, it's definitely got to be more grain of saltish, right? You can take pieces from everybody, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, there are so many different things happening. Let's make sure we dial in just a few of them. So
you mentioned working with youth players a little earlier. You getting a lot of clinics going, or you getting a lot of one-on-one lessons with kids that are getting ready to go to junior gold?
Most of the clinics were with youth bowlers. We had one of them that was mostly adults, but a lot of them generally are youth bowlers. But especially the one last week at the next big thing, all these kids are gearing up for junior gold too. They're bowling this tournament to prep for junior gold, right?
Yep.
But definitely seen a lot of them. I got a couple one-on-one lessons that I've been given that are getting prepped to do the same thing. Yep.
So up in Green Bay this year, it's going to be pretty interesting with the PWBA having a tour stop right before junior gold at Ashwaubenon Bowling Center.
Yep.
That facility had sold a lot of great events over the years, including the Masters back in 2015.
Yep, that was the first one I ever bowled.
First one? How'd you do in that one? You remember?
I missed the check by 4. But I threw like the back 9 for 260 the 15th game to give myself a chance. So that was cool. So it was fine.
Yeah, they just redid the whole center with Neoverse and all that. Yeah, it's going to be looking really sharp for when the Bowl TV crew's in there.
Yeah, they had like the throwback, like the orangish coral colored old AMF panels or the backdrops. Yeah, those were mask units. Those were really cool.
Yeah. So I think they were selling those for $100 a piece, and I think they sold all 30 of them.
I bet they did. Yeah, they're in good shape. Those are actually cool. If you're building like a retro looking center, then they still look great. Yeah,
I'm sure there's a dozen of them in people's basements right now.
I'm sure. Yeah, you're probably right.
Oh, here we go. So when you say there's early hook, what type of drilling on a ball would you use when playing a shot like that? Somebody says they use a dual angle drilling. I know there's dual angle and there's storm system and that type of thing has their own VLS, 2LS,
and dual angle. Yeah, I use dual angles. Generally speaking, for earlier hook, you probably want longer pin to paps. You just need to get the ball to flare a little less to make sure it doesn't get offline as quick. So the weaker side of pins on like stronger balls, I'll use 5-inch pins.
Okay.
But if there's crazy stuff where I really need some help getting through the front with early hook, then I'll do a 5.5-inch pin. Yeah.
Okay.
So, longer pins definitely the way to go. That's usually what I do to get my ball to the front easier. So.
I remember somebody mentioning, and I've been out of touch with the equipment and the thing for a few years now. Pin on the access point. Is that is that an actual thing, or is that something to avoid? Okay.
Not anymore. Yeah, you pretty much want to avoid. You want to avoid that for sure.
Okay.
Maybe one. Like if you have a lot of balls, then maybe one of them is okay.
Okay.
But I definitely don't need. They started getting big again before urethane became a resurgence. So when patterns started getting shorter again, the people had to figure out how to control the back ends because bowling balls are getting stronger, rev rates are getting higher, but patterns were getting shorter. So they, Cheetah, they just absolutely chuck it at the gutter. And like Rash was 10 to 1, or Tommy was 15 to 1 in Tulsa that one year. But it's crazy. Those balls have pretty much that's when they were kind of coming back, but then
Okay.
urethane came in and just made them all become irrelevant because urethane recreated that shape but went to the pin so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't flat 10 3 times guaranteed a game kind of. I mean, you can, obviously. It's that kind of ball motion. But if you know how to use it, they're so much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with the tour change to the 78 hardness on the urethanes, did that really affect your game at all on shorter patterns, that type of thing?
Not really, because everybody's in the same boat. It's not like
Yeah.
everybody, some of the guys had a magic urethane ball or something before, or like they had before. Everybody had to drill the new same black hammers or the new IQs or whatever.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. No, I don't think it was a big deal. There was. If they were a little harder, they went a little straighter. They went a little straighter for everybody. It wasn't just me. So no, yeah, no, I like the black hammers. So
Let's see. Yeah, somebody says they're getting a Turbo X drilled up for the tournament next weekend. It's still amazing that they'll recycle balls and styles of balls and that like 30 years after the original release.
Well, how many names do you think they go? Like some of those companies, or like Brunswick, for example, it's 7 different brands, and they're making new balls every month.
Right.
There's a new ball coming out by one of the brands. So they've definitely gone that route and gone back a bunch. Obviously, Columbia's going old school. Track has done it a couple times now with the Stealths. I think those were some other ones too. And then and Ebonite now with the Turbo X and they made the Crushers, which weren't exactly remakes, but they had the Crush R in the 90s. So similar kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember bowling with one of those. So yeah.
I had it, yeah.
Not to divulge my age fully, but yeah, I had a Crush R and I enjoyed it.
That was actually one of the ones I had that with the last ball. One of the last balls with a shorter pin I had was a Nitro R squared, the purple one. It had like a 1-inch pin.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep. I took out the junior goal when I was 17. I used it on the short pattern.
I loved my original Black Phantom.
Yeah.
Loved that ball. And there's no way they can make that today because the core differential would be way out of spec. Somebody said it was pushing over a .08.
Yeah.
Over something like that.
Geez.
Where it's
Flared. That's why I flared the whole ball.
Yeah. So, oh god, that ball made me money at the Peterson too. It was a great ball.
Yep. That Phantom was good.
You bowling the Peterson? It's a sister tournament to this LBC event, and it's right up the road.
I should be, but no, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. We didn't end up planning for it this weekend.
Yeah. So we had Norm Duke in here week 1 talking about a couple of times when he bowled the Peterson back in the day when it was on 35th and Archer, and he had some good stories on how they pretty much singled him out.
They tried to.
Those squads, tried to.
Yep.
They don't have to
make
much.
Sure your ball doesn't come back. Make sure the racks are extra bad for you.
Right.
And,
Make
throw
sure
a couple heavy pins in there.
Oh yeah, make sure the Fred Flintstone looking pins make the 1-3 in your rack. Yeah, I've seen that a few times with when I used to run squads down there.
Yeah, I've only bowled. I think I bowled twice.
Yeah.
The first year I couldn't take my competitive brain out of it, so I tried to actually bowl. So I bowled terrible. I bowled
1200,
1380 or something, 1350.
Okay, so not too bad.
It was but I tried to bowl a little bit, and then the next year I went and I said I'm throwing straight balls. I'm going to commit to it. Yeah. And I was 40 under going into the last game, so I had a really good squad. Yeah. And I bowled 160 the last game. I'm like, well, if I would have bowled 240, I would have won. Because nobody bowled 1600 that year. Yeah. So, but I bowled 1520 and got my $1,000 check and got out of there. Yeah. So
that's the great thing about it. You can make your spares and get a decent sized check. Yep. So stay out of trouble.
Yeah. It used to be my dad always took his buddies. Forever they'd rent a van and get 6 or 7 of them and go once a year. Yeah. And he's like, yep. If I get out there and I bowled my 1500 and get close to that $900 or $1,000 check and I'm good. So. And he lived in the 1520s. He's like, I had 4 or 5 of those, but
if your lifetime average at the Pearson is 190, that's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, no
that's
kidding.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, he took a gray ghost, or a gray angle. That was his favorite ball. Yep, gray angle and a spare ball. That's what he would take every year. It was 16. He'd keep it just for the Peterson.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I had my best score with a house ball. So
nice.
Shot 15-10 with a house ball off the rack and off from the States.
That's hilarious.
Because my thumb slug out of my Black Phantom came out, and the pro shop was closed. And I didn't have glue, and it was a half hour before the squad started. So I'm like, can I grab a house ball? Yeah, just you can grab a house ball. Grab the house ball, shot 15-10.
Wow. That's awesome.
With a conventional drill. 15-pound house ball. So I went back the next year. I'm like, I can't change. I didn't even bring a ball. I just brought my shoes. I grabbed the house ball off the rack, and I still shot like 1460.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Maybe I should just switch to a conventional grip for the rest of my career.
That's hilarious. That's kind of like some people don't know. I think he still does it too. A Belmo story. when he was young, he didn't have a spare ball because his parents didn't want to buy him one yet or get him one yet, whatever.
Yeah.
So wherever he went, he just grabbed a house ball off the rack and used that, whatever weight he was throwing, he used that as a house ball.
Right.
So when he finally got a ball drilled, a spare ball for him, he went and threw it, and he didn't like it. So he went in back into the pro shop and said, hey, can you take these grips out? Because he was used to the conventional holes being huge.
Yeah.
And then he's shot spares like that ever since. So his spare ball just has 2 31 holes.
I didn't
2
know
insert
that.
holes, yeah.
Oh,
so I
that's
don't know if
phenomenal.
he still does it, but yeah, for a while, or when you could still have 3 holes, he had 3 different 31 holes. It was funny. So I don't know if he still does that.
That's great.
That's why, yeah. I thought that was a pretty crazy story.
That's insane.
With someone who's as good a spare shooter as he is too, and he's just using 2 massive holes basically.
How many of your practice sessions do you use just for focusing on spare shooting? Like how much, or let's say how much of if you're practicing an hour, how much of that hour is spent on spare shooting?
I'd probably say on average I'm just shooting the spares that I leave.
Okay.
I probably haven't gone out of my way to overemphasize spare shooting, like because of a bad event. Like it's never the last couple of years. I've actually been really happy with my spare shooting, so I haven't gone out of my way to find more spares, whatever. Because my made splits over missed makeables has been positive to a barely negative pretty much every event the last couple of years. But for the average person, make sure that system is dialed. That's what we've been covering a lot too. Is that good spare shooters are good spare shooters and they're accurate. A lot of these tour guys are, but they're really good at spares because they know where to stand for them, and they don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, it's funny. Norm Duke was in here week 1, and Norm goes, "Yeah, I don't know if I'm breaking news yet or news I'm not supposed to break." He goes, "Yeah, but I actually got a new bowling ball coming out." He goes, and it's a polyester spare ball. And I looked at him. I'm like, "Oh no, you're kidding, right?" He goes, "No, it's a spare ball." And he showed me the picture of it.
That's cool
and everything. But I'm like, Norm never used a spare ball.
I know, yeah.
And now they have it has the Duke. It has the Duke Trophy logo. It's made with Storm in conjunction with Norm and the PBA, and it has the trophy logo of Norm with the fist pump under the chin.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I can't wait to get that out. I don't bowl much anymore, but I'm definitely getting that for my spare ball when that comes
that's
out.
Cool.
So as much of a Norm fan.
Well, I mean, he's definitely one of the best spare shooters of all time. So.
Wow, apparently Ricky Bobby not a good spare shooter because all of a sudden the chat jumped all over him.
Yeah, he's not. Ricky's not known for his single pin shooting. That's for sure. He's not known for his single pins.
Watching some of the bowlers I know from up in Wisconsin are down here bowling today, trying to compare notes, and so this lane did this and this lane did that. You'll have some buddies bowling in your squad that you'll be able to kind of bounce things off of.
Yeah, we got
see reactions.
We got 5 guys kind of total together. Me, Zach, and then John, Allen, and my buddy Alex that bowled with me last year, and he's been on my nationals team in the last couple of years too.
Okay.
So,
how was Baton Rouge for you this year?
Team is tough, man. They're just really tough. And then I didn't bring a strong enough ball for doubles and singles. We haven't had to use bigger balls there for a while.
Yeah.
Really would have liked to have this Paragon there if I could do it over again. So the lane didn't develop great in doubles. And then I had 690 in singles once they finally kind of opened up. But it took too long because I didn't have enough ball or enough surface to help transition it faster. So I think I ended up right at 1780 or something. So no good, but
nothing huge.
Yeah, just team was tough because the oil felt thick, but it moved around a lot. Yeah. So it was hard once you got I got lined up the second game and threw a triple, but then I don't think I threw another strike with that ball after that.
Geez.
It was just whatever happened, you had to use it right then, and then it's you had to make a guess. But making the right guess is impossible.
So a lot of transition then?
Yeah, for
team?
sure.
Okay.
Moving around. That's why it was when Andrew bowled 760 or whatever he bowled the other day, it's unbelievable.
I saw somebody, K&J Finishing bowled over the last couple of days, and somebody posted on Facebook that it's with Nick Pate and Nick Crummell on that team, along with a couple other players.
Yep, I've been talking to Nick actually too.
Okay. And I'm not going to name the other bowler on that team that in the end of game 1 working on a string gutter two. Yeah.
I won't say his name either.
We'll protect the innocent. I do like that gentleman. He used to bowl my youth events in Wisconsin.
Yes, I do. I'm
quality gentleman, quality family man.
Yeah.
But
Nick said he started taking his thumb out of it, so he dropped it or lost it when it happened. So because he's always had that, he's kind of had that unique backswing anyways. So, but he's a good bowler. He's a good bowler, and it happens. Hey, he's not the only person that's had gutter and two in the same frame in a big event. So,
but just such a weird, such a weird way to do it. Gutter 2 in a 10th frame. That was, unique. All right, we got player movement here getting into game 5. this game seems to be taking really long.
Yeah, that was kind of slow. Yeah, I think we
So-
had half the group kind of bowling ahead and then
Yeah.
half not.
I think
Pace of play is getting a little screwed up here.
let's take a look. Yeah, they're already up into
Yeah, they're already in the fourth frame of game
fourth
5
frame of
down
game
there.
5. Let's see where Cam Crow is. Let's get on Mr. Crow.
It should be what
He's over on 9 and 10.
I was going to say 9 and 10 and 13 and 14.
There he
yeah.
comes, stepping up, getting ready to go here.
So 907 with the 190 the last game. So he's 100 over. Phil said there's nobody at that 1400 mark yet, so he pretty much got to have 500 on the end to try to get there.
There's only 3 PBA exempt players that have bowled so far.
I guess that's true.
But it's still a little odd that no one's got there yet out of the 3 play. I mean, and 3 great. I mean, let's face it. If you're a PBA exempt player, you're a great player. If you're bowling on the PBA Tour all the time, you're a phenomenal player. It's no doubt about it. And to just not see that and then watch that young man the other night with Weston Griffin. My good. I mean, the kid kept it simple. He just I was playing around the track. Yeah, I was throwing. He was just so relaxed and everything. It's like he was oblivious to what he was actually doing, which
that's perfect.
I guess it's not a bad thing. You don't get nervous.
They say ignorance is bliss, right? So
I've lived half of my life that way.
Yeah.
And Crow takes them all back. So
I got a feeling he might bowl a good one here. If he gets off to a double or a triple, then I think he might put it on the last 2.
yeah. Well, got any more pros in this event? Well, yeah, the guy we're talking to, AJ Chapman. Stick around for the 2 o'clock squad because he's got some company with Zach Wilkins and EJ Tackett, and then we'll have Tim Foy Jr. in the booth.
Yeah,
I heard Tim Foy's least favorite number is 3.
Oh.
With 3 third-place finishes on tour this year.
Yeah, that'd probably be a hot topic or a sore subject right now.
And then Tim's bowling tomorrow on the 11 a.m. squad. We won't have a booth feed for that squad. As much as I'd like to wire Tim up and talk to him while he's bowling, usually there's an end well for the player when that happens. Then we have Nate Purchase bowling on the special. Yeah, he snuck in with the old guys next Friday. How did he do that?
Yeah.
Former PBA Tour Rookie of the Year. Who do you think it's going to be this year? It's got to be vote's got to be for Ryan Barnes.
Ryan, yeah. I don't think it's close.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct on that.
Yeah. He had a phenomenal rookie season.
Yeah, there's not much to vote on for rookie or player.
Oh yeah, definitely the most. That's definitely the most dominant rookie season in a minute too. There's a couple. Yeah. I mean, not that somebody doesn't deserve it, but there's a couple times I felt like, I mean, goodness, did anybody really, was anybody supposed to get it this year? But Ryan.
Right.
Yeah, super awesome, super impressive. I mean, to get in there and to make the playoffs as a rookie is nuts.
Yeah, 11th in points overall.
Yeah, that's insane especially with how dominant the same kind of guys have, become, whatever, whatever you want to describe that as. It's harder to have a breakthrough when those spots are taken. Yeah. And he basically forced himself into one of those spots, which is impressive as a first year.
And he didn't start taking it seriously until the pandemic. To be honest, if you talk to his dad, I mean, sure he bowled, but he didn't take it as a possible career path until 2020.
Oh yeah, I got to see it firsthand when he first started practicing. I'm in the shop and bowling league at the same center that we all bowl at. So I got to see it when he first decided. When he first came out, and I was like, well, he's got a little ways to go, and then he turned a little ways into not so little.
Yeah, because I remember he was at Team USA trials in Vegas in 22 because it was happening at the same time the first RPI was happening at South Point when I was covering that, and I went over to watch a little bit during a break, and I'd never seen Ryan bowl in person before, and then watching Chris try not to helicopter Dad, and he can't do it.
Nope.
Well, that was kind of the funny part for me. I'm like, Chris, he wants to just say something, but he knows he's doesn't want to say anything. Just watching that back and forth, and waiting for Ryan to pick his brain instead of forcing it on him. And I think that's been part of the relationship why Ryan's gotten so good is, you've got a great source to pick a brain of, absolutely, but knowing when to interject and when not to interject as a parent is.
Yep.
I've seen some youth players that have had some real issues with getting better in their career because the parents are always.
Yep.
And pointing at do this or look at this and that kind of thing, and the parents might not have definitely don't have the experience of a Chris Barnes. So
I mean, unfortunately, it happens. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, but your dad's a great bowler in his own right.
Yeah.
And having that brain to pick, too, I'm sure helped you
a
great deal.
Yeah, and he knows my game, and he's a great coach, too. So, I mean, he got me to the level where he thought he could, and then he took me to see even better coaches, you know. So, but he also learned every time we went to see better coaches, so he took that into his coaching, too. So he's probably got 150 students across Iowa that he works with.
Okay.
Yeah. So
He
still gives lots of individual lessons.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that you can't – if you stop learning in this game, you're dead.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure, because it's ever evolving.
You're done for. So let's see if we got any more questions in the chat for AJ.
Okay.
And fresh oil for each round of this event. Yeah, every squad gets a fresh application. And they actually try to time it out, too, so they're actually oiled. Like they start oiling like 90 minutes before every squad bowls. Because then that way – because as you know on tour, AJ, the amount of time the oil sits out there can affect how much it moves around and how much it's transferred.
100%. That's something people don't really talk about either. Like they, let's say you start at the low end of the house, right? And you're bowling just a regular tournament, a singles event, whatever.
Yep.
So they start at the low end, and you're on, if we're at this house, you're on 33 and 4, let's say. So you're in the second to last pair. So they start on the low end. So by the time they're to the high end, it's probably been a half hour, 45 minutes. 1 and 2 has a half hour, 45 minutes of the actual oil cooling back down to room temperature.
Yeah.
But on 33 and 4, 35 and 6, the oil was literally just applied to the lane, so it's still warm because it's moving around in the machine. So warm oil moves around more. It's more viscous or whatever, right? Yeah, more viscous than room temperature, colder oil. So it's going to move around faster. It's going to make transition different. It's going to make them play different, generally harder.
Well, to give everybody a clue that's coming in, because the one thing that the PBA wants to make sure this event is nothing but transparent.
Yep.
When they start oiling on this event, they burn off the pairs that are not in play, 1 and 2 and 35 and 36. They use the machines are only programmed with that one pattern. That's
Perfect.
it. These Atlas machines. So there's no way somebody can push a wrong button, accidentally have a house shot out there, that type of thing. There's only one pattern in those machines. They burn 1 and 2. They burn 3 and 4, and then 33 and 34, and then they go back to 1 and 2 and 33 and 35 and 36 in the machines, and they oil meeting in the middle of the house.
Perfect.
So that way you know when you're walking in the door, and you'll still, if you get here in time to check in, I mean obviously it takes about a minute, 90 seconds to 2 minutes to oil a lane. So you'll see the machines moving towards the middle of the house when you get here to check in on your squad. Yep. And then you know now that you know, hey, they started on the outside, worked their way in. Now you know what might to look for a little bit different in transition.
Yeah, and they all sit for 90 minutes once they're done, which is nice. So yeah, that's good. Don't have to worry about them needing to settle. You know?
Right, and it's the one thing they do too to make sure is you'll see the tournament directors. Usually it's Neil Stremmel. Neil off this weekend, so Dennis is our tournament director this weekend, and he'll look at the back ends. He'll walk the first few lanes, and he'll walk walk out in the middle and take a look, and he'll make sure that the pattern ends at the same spot on every lane.
Yep, where it's supposed to.
Yeah, because there's. Oiling machines are not perfect. Yes, they're automated. Yes, Kegel makes great machines, but there's still weird things that can happen that all of a sudden, oil didn't get put out in this lane or this spot there, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're $30 or $40,000 machine. It's just like a car. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be maintained, probably more often than people would ever think about looking at it.
Yeah, and
so it does happen.
I remember one of the squads at Bolero Wauwatosa, after they started using they got partway through the squad, and they went out, and Eric Pearson, who does the lanes on the PBA Tour, that was a home game for Eric, so he was able to check. He saw what happened, and there were a couple lanes where it looked like they had no oil on it. And it's like, stop, check the machine, okay, let's re-oil everything. And the squad maybe started a half hour late, but guess what? Everybody had the right pattern out there. And we've seen events.
It would have been a lot better than the alternative there.
Yeah, and we've seen events, especially with the ladies' tour a couple of years ago, where there was some, all of a sudden, hey, one lane seems like there was no oil on it. Mm-hmm. And then, you can't, as much as you try to gloss that over, you can't gloss that over. It's very obvious to anybody that's watching.
Yep. Yep, and it's definitely happened.
Have you bowled an event where that's happened? Where, like, all of a sudden one lane is just so much different than every other lane?
I did bowl an event, a regional actually, where a lane didn't get ran.
Oh.
Going into match play.
Okay.
So there was one random lane, the first pair on 8 games or 12 games round robin.
Yeah.
The first pair, the left lane wasn't oiled.
Okay.
So it was, basically fresh, and then it was disgusting on just hope and pray, basically, on lane 3. It was crazy.
But everybody hit it, so it was fair.
It didn't take until
whatever
us figuring it out was the tough part. So the first couple guys kind of got screwed. And like, is this why? And then eventually you're like, okay, this is. There's no way this got oiled.
Yeah.
So by the time you figure it out, at least you know the third or fourth guys going to that pair. You know, you might have an idea, right? And you start watching, paying a little more attention. Okay, I go to 3 game 5. I better go get a heads up and see what they're doing ahead of me. But.
So we got Chicago Bears fan 97. My apologies for being a Bears fan. Just kidding. I'm from Wisconsin. Sorry. He's kind of asking, you know, is this a tournament for my ability? And that's one of the great things about the LBC National Championships is that you don't have to be the talent level of an AJ Chapman to participate. We had a bowler. We had a young lady on the squad Tuesday night who was bowling with her family. Her brothers were bowling the Junior World Series of Bowling. She averaged 49, and she came out here and bowled her 6 games in her pink tutu skirt.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she had a great time with it.
Yeah, so that's why there's all different divisions. Yeah. So it's open and fair to everybody, right?
Right.
So, yeah, very cool tournament. So it's absolutely for everybody. And if it's your first kind of bigger tournament, then it'd be a great one to get your feet wet with. I think it'd be a really good exposure one, you know.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Sign up. You can still get in online. PBA.com is the place to go, but on your address bar on your internet browser after PBA.com, put your / and then LBC tournament, and then that'll get you the information. Not only how to register, your best time to get in, the first 2 weekends in July. We end July 13th. Next weekend's wall to wall. They're not. I know on Friday and Saturday there's no spots left. There might be spots left on Sunday, the 29th, but there might be 2, I think, tops.
Yeah.
Yeah, get those spots in and get your chance to bowl. And hey, $25,000 on top in the Open Classic division, $5,000 on top in the Women's Classic, Senior Classic, and Men's and Women's Handicap.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and $2,500 guaranteed first place for Boys Junior Handicap and Girls Junior Handicap divisions and scholarship money. So the scholarship money that's out there now compared to, well, especially when I was a kid, there wasn't anything as scholarship money, but even when you were a kid with the scholarship tournaments out there weren't tournaments paying $2,500 in scholarship money very often.
No, $300, $400, $500 maybe.
Yeah,
you know. I mean at the good events.
Yeah,
at the good events. Yeah.
And then by the time mom and dad handle the gas money and everything else to get you there and the equipment and stuff, there wasn't always a ton left over.
No, it's a little better than putting money in a CD for college fund, but
yeah. So Bears fan, pop on. I mean, get yourself signed up. You say you only have 10 or 15 minutes away.
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah, stop in today and watch some great pros bowl. Watch, AJ bowl here. Watch EJ Tackett. Watch
you
that.
Don't have to worry about any expenses too. You don't have to worry about getting a hotel or anything. So this would literally be the perfect time to come do something like this.
So what's the game plan for the rest of the summer once you're done here this weekend? It's got to be Lucy will be coming up. I'm sure you'll be bowling that.
Yeah, I'm actually not bowling. I'm going to be hanging out. I'm going to be ball repping, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to go down and hang out, yep. I'm going to go back to Iowa tomorrow.
Okay.
Might jog up to Canada for a week and hang out with Mitch.
Yeah.
And then I'm hanging out for the fair, actually. So it's kind of funny. I'm from a small town that is kind of known for their fair every summer. So my parents are pretty involved in it a lot of the time. One of my mom's really good friends runs works for the Delaware County Fairgrounds.
Okay.
So we actually bartend one of the booths all week. So my mom was like, well, if you're going to stay home till the 4th, you might as well stay through the fair and, make some money at the booth. And I said, already been gone for 2 months. What's an extra 10 days? So I'm going to hang out for the fair, and then I'll go back down to Dallas before the Lucy.
Yeah, have some fun with it. Why not?
Yeah, make a little money. And I used to bartend when I was younger, too. So I've always enjoyed it. But
and it's always nobody, you're not dealing with a bunch of people not having fun, drowning their sorrows at a fair. You're dealing with a bunch of people out there watching bands and having some fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
At the fair. Let's see. If you got questions for AJ, throw them in the chat. I've got a hi guys from Zaquan. So, any plans on going over to Sweden for the Lucky Larson this year?
I really, really want to, but unfortunately, it's gotten expensive to get over there.
Yeah.
And there's a doubles tournament in Longview, Texas. That's the same weekend as the TV show.
Yeah.
And it pays close to 15, 20 grand with the Calcutta, so it's kind of hard. Not to go there instead because it's only 2 hours for me,
right?
And it pays more and it's way cheaper.
Yeah,
I want to go.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I went over there twice. just the timing stinks, and unfortunately, it's been pretty expensive ever since COVID.
Right.
So,
well, you know, and we were before you got in the booth today, we was talking about like what you guys do when the tour's not in session. Cam Crow, Memorial Day weekend, bowls in Grand Rapids, Michigan on Friday night, qualifies for a non-PBA event there, comes back for the PBA Celeste Walker regional, bowls B squad on Saturday, makes the cut, gets in the match, gets in the elimination rounds on Sunday, loses a roll-off for the round of 8. To advance, and then goes back to Grand Rapids, and then takes down $10,000 in that event.
Wins it on Monday.
On Monday. So I mean, you guys, sometimes it takes a scramble to bowl, like you're talking about. And
Yep. Yeah, and it's just like when we're not bowling on tour. The big seasons from January to May, maybe into June, and now the rest of the year it's pretty much no tour stuff. So it's during the week it's pretty much I give lessons and work in the shop, and then on the weekends I'm still bowling every amateur event that I could find, or regionals, or anything that pays money to bowl.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of older fans out there that wish the tour should be 33 weeks again, and blah 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 blah. I think a lot of you guys on tour are glad it's not the 33 weeks anymore. I've actually heard some of the players. I mean, one of the great quotes from the late Gary Mage, who was a great PBA regional director for so many decades, was that one of the worst things they ever did was start the summer tour in the 70s.
Yeah.
Because then everybody expected bowling 33 weeks a year.
Oh,
And it just burned a lot of guys out.
Unfortunately, they'll do it, especially in super high stress environments. When it is your job, when it is your career.
Somebody asked if you're bartending by the Butter Cow in Iowa.
By the Butter Cow, I have no idea, but
I think that's the Iowa State Fair. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's funny because the booth we work at, or it's a building basically, but it's called the Steerenstein.
Okay.
So half it's beef and half of it's beer. So that works out good. But yeah, they have this thing called the Hot Beef Sundae, and it's a cup. It's mashed potatoes, roast beef, gravy, cheese, and they throw a cherry tomato on top, so it looks like a sundae. And they call it Hot Beef Sundae, and it's unbelievable. It's so good. I'll probably eat 10 of them that week while we're there.
Yeah,
probably all I'll eat, but they're really good. Iowa beef, hard to beat it. Corn-fed.
Yeah, I should be home for I think I'm home for one of the weekends of the Wisconsin State Fair.
Yeah.
And they always have this thing called the Sporkies, which is awards they give to these unique food combinations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There was one this year where I got to find it now. It was just there's no way I'm having this. It was like some blueberry brat something other, or
sounds interesting.
It was just kind of like I don't know.
I had a fried peanut butter and jelly at the Texas State Fair last year. That was awesome.
Yeah, there's a show on Food Network called Carnival Eats. You just look at that and
check out what they got.
Yeah, I know. You go. You got to be kidding me. The Pretzeroni Pizza Brat. So it's basically taking a bratwurst, putting cheese in it and stuff like that, and then wrapping it in a pretzel and deep frying it.
Oh, I would eat that.
So
100%.
S'mores churro fries.
Yum. Churro fries?
Churro fries. Let me open this up here. So cinnamon sugar churro fries are topped with gooey marshmallow cream, chocolate sauce, crushed graham crackers. All right, that sounds like it.
Yeah, that sounds terribly beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds like I'd have to add another notch to my belt loop again, just when it was starting to go the other way. And not only do they have the Sporkies, they have the Drinkies.
Oh, geez.
Which is obviously all the different beverages. So dirty pancakes. That doesn't sound like a drink. That sounds like something else. But anyway, playful take on a dirty soda that tastes like breakfast in a cup. Root beer with vanilla creamer and maple pancake syrup, topped with brown sugar popping boba tea, and then topped with whipped cream. And then you get mini pancakes on your straw.
So that sounds like a sugar overload again, but it does sound fantastic.
Right, breakfast in a cup. So,
yum.
You guys got
making me hungry.
You guys got to have favorite spots on if there's a tour stop going to like Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like the big thing for me there at Shawnee, Oklahoma was Hamburger King in downtown Shawnee.
Yeah.
Just a little hamburger joint, but it was all fresh meat. It was all really good, old school. You got a favorite restaurant at a tour stop that you always hope the tour goes back to?
One that we
year?
always go to. It seems like in the random town. We kind of bowl Springfield, Missouri. Not a huge town.
Yeah.
But we go there because Kevin gets involved and obviously helps that. But there's a New York-style pizza place in Springfield.
Really?
It's just called Big Slice. Super simple, but it's unbelievably good. Probably my favorite New York-style pizza outside of like New York or New Hampshire or Maine. You know. But it's called Big Slice. And even when I went in there one time and I was low carbon, and they had a cauliflower crust pizza. That was the best. It didn't taste like cauliflower at all. It tasted
Wow.
like pizza.
Okay.
I couldn't believe how good it was. But that's probably the one that's on the top of my list that I think about the easiest because it's a small town spot. We only go to Springfield a couple times a year maybe, but that we always make sure to go to Big Slice while we're there.
Zeke Bate told me about a Chinese restaurant there, too, and I can't remember the name of it now. And he said it was the best Chinese restaurant he's ever been to.
I need to know what that is because I'm a Chinese food guy. I look for the hole-in-the-wall places,
Yeah,
Yep.
get a hold. Next time you go to Springfield, get a hold of Zeke Bate. He'll let you know because, Zeke, I do trust his. There's guys out there I wouldn't trust their food judgment on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names. Yeah. But Zeke Bate is definitely one that I would trust his food judgment on. And, he said there was a phenomenal Chinese place, and I can't remember the name of it now. And I know Zeke's busy bowling somewhere in Ohio this weekend. Yeah, like you said, you guys are always scrambling the bowl, whatever event might be going on. And, Texas is one of those states where you can find action.
Yep.
Heck, you can find action on some weeknights on occasion.
Yep, and that's why.
I'm sure.
And that's why the big reason I moved there in the first place was because bowling is good. So there's tons to bowl. Our Thursday night mixed league has upwards of 50 brackets sometimes.
Oh wow, okay, that's insane.
Yeah,
holy cow. Yeah, because Michigan's another good one where there's even action on weeknights.
Yeah.
Ohio, a lot of
Ohio's
weekend,
good too.
Yeah, a lot of
Central,
weekend stuff.
Upper Central's good.
Yeah,
you get all the way out to the East Coast is good. Florida's actually okay too. Texas is great.
Yeah, Texas is probably the biggest outside of. I mean, Vegas has a lot of lanes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but they don't have a lot of scratch events.
It's
that
not
type
quite
of
the
thing.
same. Yeah, they got those big 9-pin no taps things where you can go make a bunch of money. But and we have some of that stuff too. But
do they have rules in place now at a lot of those 9-pin no taps that somebody can't get past 300 with their handicap?
Certain events, yes, and certain events, no. I mean, the one I remember in league one night, Barnes specifically bowled. I think he bowled 299 or 298, and he, this league at AMF Louisville, this place we bowl for a couple years when they were working on the pattern, they put new lanes in, and they're brutal. Yeah. It's the toughest league center in DFW for sure. But Chris bowled like 298, so I think he had 10 pins of handicap because he was averaging 220, and it was based off 230. And he bowled 308, and he lost because the guy across from him bowled 331. 331 because they didn't stop it at 300. It was really stupid. I hate that rule.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. I get it. Handicap has to happen. It's fine.
Right.
But everybody has to be capped at 300.
Yeah.
They should have tied.
Yeah.
Because Chris beat him by 50.
Right.
But because he bowled 250 and, gets 75 pins or 80 pins, whatever, he bowled 331.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Absolute yikes on that. So somebody in the chat said, Alan, get AJ a ticket to Sweden. When you can make more money at home. It's a tough. It's a tough thing sometimes. With, for a while before the pandemic, the World Bowling Tour, you could go make a few bucks at certain events, and other ones were like, if you finish top 10, you'll have a winning week, kind of thing. So it made it kind of.
Yeah, I think the last time that I went to Sweden, it was like $650 for my flight. And I think when I looked last year to go, it was like $1,300 for 4 bags. Yeah. And it was $650 with bags. So it's just everything's way more expensive now since COVID.
Two people, somebody in the chat, can't confirm Louisville is freaking rough.
Yes.
As my home lanes.
That's funny. Yeah, definitely a tough center.
Do they re-rate people out of that center if they go to other tournaments?
I mean, there's definitely to the point where there's different tournament groups now that have their averages because they have to keep them where they're at to make them more accurate. Yeah. Yeah,
because I know, I'm from Milwaukee, so groups that there's a couple of leagues that still actually bowl at Holler House.
Oh wow!
The 2 lanes in the basement,
cool.
They're all by hand and stuff
That's
like that.
Awesome.
But when somebody like Tommy Jones can't even shoot 200 there,
yeah, then
it gets
it's
a little
different.
tough. Well, of course, then Belmo shoots 230 like it's nothing. Well, he did have a couple crossovers in there. Let's be honest.
Yep, I mean that's going to happen in there.
But it was pretty good. Hey, we got some player movement. We're going to take a little break. We're going to refresh our beverages. Suggest you do the same. We'll bring AJ back for Game 6, and we will be underway with that momentarily. Your player movement between Game 5 and Game 6. It's the big jump this time. They are moving 4 pairs, so skipping 3, landing on the 4th. If you're following somebody on a second tab. Here from the main feed, he's AJ Chapman. I'm $2 Phil, and we'll have Game 6 coming up in a few minutes. All right, Game 6. We're really going to let AJ Chapman get out of here. He's going to be back for the 2 o'clock squad. 3 o'clock Eastern time for those of you watching on our main feed. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. And, yeah, I know the main feed's going to be real busy on the next squad with watching AJ Chapman, Zach Wilkins, and EJ Tackett all on that squad. So we'll be bouncing around in here. And joining me in the booth, Rogue Foppe. Rogue, it's been a big week here in Bolero Mount Prospect. We had the PBA Junior World Series of Bowling. We had that great squad the other night where Weston Garrett got himself into the lead in the Open Classic division. And what have you been seeing so far this morning on the on the lanes here? Anybody with a chance to get into one of the top spots?
Alexis Runk has a chance of taking over Women's Classic.
Okay.
She has been, I think her lowest game all day today was a 191.
So she's been consistent.
She's been very consistent with low to medium 200s this game. She needs to shoot at least a 212 to take over lead, which, looking at her score right now, she's on track for.
All right.
She's had great ball motion all day. Right now, I saw she was in the GB5 Pearl, I want to say. It's the purple-blue one. I don't know which one that is. They released so many variants of the GB5.
I think you're right. I think that's the exact same one that AJ Chapman was talking about that he was going to use today as his benchmark ball when we had AJ in the booth. And it's the same ball that he shot a 300 game and awarded a mini Duke for that from the opening game of last year's squad for AJ Chapman. So
I will say the lanes have been looking like they're hooking a lot more today, probably to do with the lovely extreme heat advisory we have here. But
well, that's one thing that a lot of bowlers have to remember is that during, and I had a nice chat with Eric Pearson the other night. Eric Pearson, for those of you that don't know that name, he's the gentleman that handles the lane conditioning on the PBA and PBA 50 tours for the last few seasons. He's been involved with lane conditioning for decades. And Wednesday night, I had a sweeper I was live streaming from a little 12-lane center outside of Milwaukee. And he talked about, yeah, this is the time of year, ground underneath the building is all warmed up and everything now, and now it spreads into the cribbing on the lanes, and now it spreads into the lane beds and makes them play different than they do when the ground's colder in the winter. So, and that could be the case here where we've had so much heat now in Chicago after a relatively cool May in the Midwest. Now the ground's heating up. It's getting into the building and getting into the cribbing and getting into the lane beds and warming them up quicker, and that's going to make the oil do different things. There is, as AJ Chapman said, an infinitesimal amount of variables that get involved in the sport of bowling, and so many of them that you wouldn't think of. One of them today, and you've seen this and you've experienced yourself as a bowler, what happens when it gets humid out with synthetic approaches?
they stick.
Yeah.
They stick a lot. But that's why you get the fancy shoes with the interchangeable bottoms or what do they call it, a shoe sock? Is that what those are called now?
Yeah, they call them the shoe socks for when the approaches are really a bit on the tacky side, where it's basically not quite felt material, but
I've always had issue sliding. Like, I've always overslid, and no one can figure out why. Even I use the ridge teal and everything, and I still overslide. So what I started doing now, I learned from Daria Payuk, is the cleat system. I cut up slides, do cleats, more on there for more surface, less on there for less surface coverage. I can mix and match. It's helped out a lot. So in all honesty, if anyone's having troubles this summer, try out the cleat system. The slide soles can be a pain to try to cut up into little circles, but there's a lot of tools out there that help out a lot to get them to cut up.
How many slide soles have sacrificed their lives for your cleat system?
Well, I just started the cleat system maybe end of December. I want to say only 4 so far.
Okay.
I try to use the most out of a cleat before I have to swap them out.
Gotcha.
And I will be cutting up the rest of them tonight in preparation for tomorrow, because tomorrow's supposed to be hotter.
Yeah, you want to watch the game behind the voice. Rogue Foppe will be hitting the lanes in our 11 a.m. squad tomorrow. Wonder if you're going to be on the same pair with Tim Foy.
I have no idea where they are putting me.
Yeah, we'll find out when you get here. And for those of you that may have missed it last year, we had Rogue was kind enough to let us mic her up for her entire 6-game block last year in 2024, and it's a piece that's still sitting out there on PBA YouTube. You can check it out between rounds or check it out tomorrow before she bowls. And we're glad to have Rogue helping us out here in the booth when we have booth feeds and such during the LBC National Championships, and we're glad to have Rogue helping out with some more 10 on the deck productions type things, as we're glad the PBA has contracted with 10 on the deck productions, aka $2 Phil, aka me, for the third year of the LBC National Championships live streaming.
I was ready to see how many AKAs you could go through.
I think my record is 6, but it was talking about another bowler. Mr. Harris, yeah, 1985 there were 30 PBA events. 5 years later it was 25, and now counting the PBA events that are overseas and such, all the titles is 21. And yeah, we packed 5 of those into a 2-week period with the World Series of Bowling, and another couple of weeks. Another week we pack in a couple of titles when they have an event, and then the Roth Home and doubles at the same time, like they did this year in Vernon Hills. So yeah, fewer weeks, but I guarantee you, if you there's some guys that are always going to be the ones that we got to bowl. I want more bowling. Got to bowl. Got to bowl. Got to bowl. Got to. You know, there's guys even like AJ Chapman that may not have had the best year this year on tour, finishing in 61st in points, but he knows that there's other things in life to do to help bring some funds in. So
I will say the tournament format I wish they brought back was, I don't think it was last season, it was 2 seasons ago, where it was PBA 50, PBA, and PWBA trios.
That was in 2024. They had that in Jonesboro, one of my favorite bowling centers.
It was a really cool tournament format. I would like to see that one back.
Yes, it was, and everybody qualified separately in their divisions and then got teamed up. The Baker competition was phenomenal. I mean, that was one that could have been TV worthy.
Oh yeah.
With all those things, but then you're dealing with TV rights fees and when it can happen and all kinds of other stuff.
Trying to balance all the tour schedules and everything.
Exactly. Never easy to do.
Great strike there from Brandon.
So Alexis is still on pace to get to that women's classic lead. She needs 212?
Yeah, I believe so, because she's at 10:45 after game 5. And if I remember correctly, Gianna Brandolino had 12:56, 57?
You are correct.
My math.
You didn't have to just believe. you have fact behind you. There's a running joke that I just referenced with Rogue right there, where we try to avoid the I believes in the booth. We try to go with the cold hard facts. So we moved her from an I believe to a cold hard fact. It was a beautiful thing.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Yeah. But I remember when I first started working with Extra Frame, Mike Jakubowski he'd get some of the abuse on social media, and he'd kind of go off on the commentary with, like, if you think it's so easy to do and come in here and talk in the booth for 4 hours at a time, I give you an open invitation to do so. And then one guy actually, I'm going to leave his name out to protect the guilty, but there was one guy, we were at an event in Long Island for the PBA 50 tour, and he wrote a letter in to the PBA saying, I want to do this, I can bring some new perspective, blah, 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 all the other stuff. So we got him there a couple hours early and started showing him all the equipment and how we hooked it up and everything else like that, and you could just see the guy start turning into a deer in headlights. And then after we slapped the headset on him, no bueno. Was not a happy time for that gentleman for the 3 hours he spent with me and Mike Jakubowski and Jeff Goodger in the booth. And his name was never heard from again. So. So next squad, you get a little bit of a break, everybody, for the 2 p.m. Central, which is where we're located here in Bolero Mount Prospect. 3 p.m. Eastern Time is your listed time on the PBA YouTube channel. We'll have a booth feed with Tim Foy. We'll have ourselves a little Rogue Foppy as well to give some insight on what she's seeing from the players on the lanes. And since she's going to have 3 PBA exempt players to follow with AJ Chapman, Zach Wilkins, and EJ Tackett, we'll have several sideline reports from Rogue during the block as well. So we invite everybody to come back and enjoy that booth feed at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. But for now, we're going to end our audio portion of our programming. We'll continue streaming here in the booth for the last couple of frames of this pair, but I want to thank everybody that joined us here. Come back 2 p.m. Let your friends and family know, too. They can watch, basically, even though they haven't voted yet, Player of the Year again for EJ Tackett. Just a formality. Watch EJ Tackett and then watch a couple of young stars on the PBA Tour with AJ Chapman and Zach Wilkins. And yikes, that could be the end of the run. Yeah, she's going to, well, getting one here is huge for Alexa.
That was just a bad break.
Yeah, Brandon had a bad blower 7-10 last game. So yeah.
She had another one last game, too,
Did
that
she?
should
Okay.
have. It's been great. She's been on point all day.
So if she gets one here and working on a strike, it's huge. Don't miss the one, because if she misses one, she'll have to double in the 10th to take the lead. Because if she misses, she'd be at 192 and she'd have to double.
Got one.
So she's at 194, so she needs 19 pins in the 10th to take the lead in the women's classic division. I don't think even with that total, though, Rogue, it's going to hold on for another 3.5 weekends. Not when there's...
I always say positivity, positive
Right.
mental attitude.
So you're talking to your future women's classic division leader, Rogue Foppy, after she comes with her positive attitude and takes her 6 games on tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Hey, Thursday night, I had an instance where I had like 3 or 4 missed spares in a row. It was just brain fart moment. Everyone looked at me, and I'm just sitting there smiling. They're like, how are you happy? And I'm like, because I can't change it.
Yeah.
Like, it was my own fault. I missed all of them. And then I turned around, made a 10 pin, and I turned around, and I'm like, I still can make my spares, guys.
There you go. You can't go 0 for forever.
No. And it's
It may feel like forever, but you can't go 0 for forever.
And everyone has just little blip moments, I call them. Just
Yeah.
little blip moments where your brain and body connection, it's like
Yeah.
where to go. Just got to reconnect the wires.
Yep.
It's like IT. Did you unplug it, replug it back in? Just take a quick second, let it reset.
That's what 90% of IT is. Did you turn it on? Did you turn it off? Did you unplug it and replug it?
Did you hold the power button for 30 seconds?
So, yeah, once we polish off the 10th frames here for Brandon and for Alexis, we'll let the booth feed stream out, but we are going to end the audio content on the stream. Thanks, everybody that's joined us. And grab a fun lunch. Grab something you enjoy for lunch. And join us back here 3 Eastern, 2 Central. For our 2 p.m. squad with AJ Chapman, Zach Wilkins, and EJ Tackett.
I can't wait to see how EJ bowls on this.
EJ didn't have a great day last year. He had a solid day. He had a couple of 279s, but the games in between were a little offsetting.
Hey, I will say last year was out of the 2 full years of this tournament. Last year was my worst showing too. So maybe it was just the last year thing.
So still a chance for that lead. Yikes.
Oh.
Kind of took the chop out of play because that 5 kind of migrated over
Yeah.
to the left a bit. But then she's still going to need 9 on the fill shot.
That ball just never read. That was weird.
So you're saying the ball was illiterate on that particular shot?
Yes.
Sorry, I've used that before with people.
That's
Uh-oh. Oh. So
I like that. I like that. That ball was
Yeah.
a little. I like
so
that.
the ball was I've used that quite a few times. Feel free to use that in your own commentaries.
Oh, I like that.
Things progress.
It's always the fun little jokes. I had fun last weekend when working the Pete. How we leave little love notes on some of the bowling balls. I decided to have fun with dad jokes. So for like the hammer effect, it was, is this ball gonna have an effect on the bowling today? Just little stuff like that. Just needs 9. Oh, that's wide.
Wow.
Doesn't get it.
Gianna Brandolino dodges another bullet.
Wow. That's 7-10, man.
12.
210. 12.
55.
Yeah. What, Gianna was 56, 57?
56.
So, yeah, by 1 pin.
Wow.
Wow.
Unbelievable. The things that can happen in this sport of bowling. So this will wrap up our booth coverage on the squad. Up next, as we mentioned, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. here at Bolero Mount Prospect. We will have Tim Foy Jr. in the booth, and we'll be watching EJ Tackett, AJ Chapman, and ZJ. No, it's not ZJ. Zach Wilkins. It'd be funny if it was. I'll have to ask Zach his middle. I don't know his middle name. Do you know Zach Wilkins' middle name?
I don't think so.
It'd be funny if it had a J, because then I'm going to call him ZJ all around long just so he fits in. AJ, EJ, ZJ. So, but Zach Wilkins.
He might just go along with it just for the
He
heck
might
of
not.
it.
I might not give him a choice. Let's put it that way. So, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you back here in a couple hours. Have a good day.